Welcome to the Genealogy Gems podcast. It's a show filled with family history research strategies and techniques, news and entertainment, and inspiration. And I'm your host, Louise Cooke. Hello and welcome to Genealogy Gems podcast episode number 166. I'm Louise Cooke, coming to you from sunny Dallas, Texas, and I'm enjoying an entire month at home. Well, it's almost an entire month. I'm going to be heading to Round Rock, Texas in about a week to present how to reopen and work a genealogical cold case. I'll be doing that at the Williamson County Genealogical Society. But other than that, I am home the whole month, which is highly unusual for me. Last month, I went to Gainesville to keynote at the Florida Genealogical Society Conference. And we also headed up to Independence, Missouri for a full-day seminar at the Mid-Continent Library Midwest Genealogy Center, which, of course, is a great facility. So I'm enjoying some time at home, getting the new house decorated. I have this really wonderful sort of wall niche area in the living room that is perfect for a family history display. So, of course, the wheels are turning on what I want to do there. I've been pinning lots of ideas on Pinterest for that. And, of course, I'm getting in lots of time with the grandsons, Davy and Joey. You know, now that Joey is a year and a half old, he's running all over the place, and it's just playtime bedlam at Shasha's house. So we are having a great time. But soon May is going to be here, and that means I'm going to be heading to the National Genealogical Society Conference, and it's in Richmond, Virginia this year. And we're going to do something very unique at NGS this year. In addition to my 3 scheduled presentations at the conference, we've got ourselves some extra booth space this year, and I'll be giving what we're calling outside the box sessions. I mean, you know how it is. You head to a big conference and you're running from one hour session to the next, and they're usually pretty big classrooms. Well, we're going to be getting outside of that box and holding 30-minute sessions in our booth on the topics that you've told me that you want most. As presenters, you know, we don't get to have the final say on which of our presentations is selected for the main conference. So it's really exciting to have this very unique way of offering the topics that you ask for. It's a smaller, intimate setting. The sessions will be packed with tips that you can use right away. And all the participants are going to get a free ebook of the handouts for those quickie sessions. We're going to have prizes. You're even going to have some treats to nibble on. I am really excited about doing this. And I think that those of you who attend NGS are going to find it kind of refreshing, fun, and informative. So I'm going to be doing 4 outside the box sessions, 1 each day at the conference. I'll be doing ancestral time travel with Google Earth. We're going to do some Evernote quick tips for genealogists, and also mobile, tablets, and smartphones, tips and tricks for genealogists, and of course, Google search strategies. And I have invited 2 of my dearest friends, Janet Hovorka of Family Chartmasters and the photo detective, Maureen Taylor, to join me and present some of their most popular topics. So in all, you'll have 3 of us, a dozen half-hour sessions to choose from to reinvigorate your genealogy research. If you want to get outside the box, come hang out with us, get the ebook, nibble on some treats, and get away from the huge crowds. You can head to the show notes. I've got the entire list of a dozen sessions that we're going to be doing over that 4-day period, and I hope to see many of you there. But no matter where you are or where I am, we get to come together here at Genealogy Gems and talk genealogy, so let's do more of that. So if you can't make it to a conference this year, no worries, because we certainly have lots of new content for you online. Over at the Genealogy Gems YouTube channel, I published a couple of new videos of interviews that I recorded while I was at Roots Tech earlier this year. The first one, genealogy crowdsourcing, 4 strategies and 4 tips for your brick wall with Drew Smith. There's also a sneak peek at what will be included in the future Family Search app, and that's with Brian Edwards of Family Search. And also 5 tools for paying it forward in genealogy. Now, this is a conversation with longtime Genealogy Gems listener Michael Cassara, who presented a session this year at Roots Tech, and I thought it was so interesting that I asked him to sit down with me to talk more about it. Michael shares one of the ways that he likes to give back to the genealogy community. What he does is he buys old, inexpensive photographs, and he does his best to track down family members today and get those ancestors back in the hands of their families. And he shares some of the techniques that he uses to do just that, which you could certainly use in your own family history research. All of these videos are free, and they are at our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/genealogygems, or you can head over to genealogygems.com, hover your mouse over video in the menu, and then click on Genealogy Gems channel. And MJ watched the video with Michael Cassara and left a comment over there at YouTube. It says, "I so agree with the karma of sharing our genealogy and our photos. I love the find a grave, billion grave photo idea. Thank you." And I know myself about good karma. I found some studio photos of a distant relative, contacted a direct descendant, and sent the photos to him. He wrote back and said, "My dad looks just like his grandmother and never knew it before. And what a gift for my son." A few weeks later, a postcard collector wrote me and asked if I wanted postcards sent by my grandfather. You bet. She sent 3 envelopes full with photos of my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and possibly my great-great-grandmother, as well as aunts, uncles, and cousins. I had never seen most of these before. What a gift. Well, MJ, that's amazing. And it's amazing how many stories are out there of people who put it out, to the community, and it just comes right back tenfold. So head on over to youtube.com/genealogygems, watch the video, and leave your comment about your experiences or just what you think about the videos. We'd love to hear from you. Next, here's a really compelling story that I came across recently, and it really reminds us that not all family history is happy memories. And what seems to be really the exact opposite of the usual obituary that you would come across as you're searching through newspapers, theblaze.com recently reported that a Reno newspaper has removed an obituary supposedly submitted by children glad that their mother was dead. The obituary was published in the Reno Gazette-Journal. It was last September, in acknowledgement of the death of Marianne Teresa Johnson Reddick. Now, I got to read this obituary to you. It's amazing. It's not something that you would expect to see in the newspaper. It says, Marianne Teresa Johnson Reddick, born January 4th, 1935, and died alone on September 30th, 2013. She survived by 6 of her 8 children, whom she spent her lifetime torturing in every way possible. While she neglected and abused her small children, she refused to allow anyone else to care or show compassion towards them. When they became adults, she stalked and tortured anyone they dared to love. Everyone she met, adult or child, was tortured by her cruelty and exposure to violence, criminal activity, vulgarity, and hatred of the gentle or kind human spirit. On behalf of her children, whom she so abrasively exposed to her evil and violent life, we celebrate her passing from this earth and hope she lives in the afterlife, reliving each gesture of violence, cruelty, and shame that she delivered on her children. Her surviving children will now live the rest of their lives with the peace of knowing that their nightmare finally has some form of closure. Most of us have found peace in helping those who have been exposed to child abuse and hope this message of her final passing can revive our message that abusing children is unforgivable, shameless, and should not be tolerated in a humane society. Our greatest wish now is to stimulate a national movement that mandates a purposeful and dedicated war against child abuse in the United States of America. Well, you can imagine this obituary went viral across the internet. And there were some follow-up articles that 6 of Johnson Reddick's 8 children were admitted to the Nevada Children's Home from 1963 to 1964 after they endured regular beatings. And her son Patrick says that he's had phone calls from all over the world about the obituary. Patrick and his siblings hope that the jolting obituary course is going to bring more attention to such an important problem as child abuse in this country. You can read more about it both at the Blaze and at the NewYorkDailyNews.com. And I want to share it with you because, again, not all memories of family history are happy. Nobody's family is perfect. Certainly mine isn't. But I do think that one of the incredible things that family history can do is shed light on the truth and provide the power to change things for the next generation and really make a difference. I'll never forget, it was back in about 2008, early on when I first started speaking at conferences regularly, and I was at a family history expo. I think it was in Mesa, Arizona, and we were in the exhibit hall, and a local man who kind of looked like he might have been homeless came into the public hall, and he was absolutely distraught, and he was angry about the pain that he had endured at the hands of his family, and he was really hurt and deeply angry to see the Family History Expo being held there. In the end, security guards helped lead him away, and I felt so sad for him because he was obviously in incredible pain, and he most likely didn't have the ability or the resources to actually reap some of the benefits that do come from learning about your history, your whole family's history. It's not just the lines of people who got off track and caused pain. Those are in all families. But as we know, there are infinite lines to our family tree out there, and there's a lot to learn from all of them so that, of course, history doesn't repeat itself. And I think just as importantly that we have the opportunity to discover the gems in our trees, the unsung heroes, people who did do a good job and contributed to society, even though there were folks in the tree who were not so good. In the end, we do get to pick who we admire, and we get to decide those areas that we will not perpetuate. After all, if our history stays in the dark, I really think that it's apt to look and feel even larger and scarier than it already is. And of course, it's also apt to repeat itself. I'd love to hear from you on this subject. You don't have to share specifics, but how has learning about your family history empowered you? And if you think it has caused harm, I'd be interested to know, in what way did it cause harm to shed light on a problem that was in the family? Now, I'm not talking about, we've talked here before on the show about not just putting it all out there, particularly when people are still living, which I think in many ways can create more damage than it does solve any problems. We have to be respectful of other people still trying to live their lives. But as in this case, where the woman had finally passed away and the children felt like this was the end of, in a sense, her legacy, and hopefully the beginning of them doing something positive. It's hard to imagine that something positive can't be made of every piece of adversity that comes our way. So would love to hear from you. If you want to share your thoughts on this, you can email me at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. You can let me know if you want me to use your name or not. I typically only use first names. And also you can leave a voicemail at the voicemail line, 925-272-4021. Finally, to wrap up this first segment, before we get to the mailbox to hear more from you, I just want to send out a really big thank you to some very nice people out there that happen to be in the genealogy community. Now, as you probably know by now, we published our Evernote for Genealogists quick reference guides. They have been incredibly popular. You can pick one up at the store on our website. And I just want to take a moment to thank the wonderful genealogy bloggers out there who helped me spread the word about these 4-page cheat sheets. So a big thank you to Thomas McKenty at hackgenealogy.com. Thomas wrote a really nice review. He says, "You know what I love about these guides on Evernote? They are easy to use. The information is laid out in a format that makes it easy to find what you need, and it is truly something that you can keep referring to as you work your way through Evernote and its features." I also want to send out a big thank you to Randy Seaver over at Genie and Musings, who wrote about the guides, and Amy Coffin of the Wee Tree blog. Amy says, I hate to sound like a salesperson, but I found this quick guide to be helpful and extremely easy to read. The tables are concise and the lists of quick keys are impressive. This guide is a keeper, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Amy. Renee Zamora, great blogger over at Renee's Genealogy blog, put it out there and shared it with her audience. Sue Maxwell, the Granite Genealogy blog. The Ancestry Insider wrote about it on the Ancestry Insider blog. And Dear Myrtle, of course, over at blog.dearmyrtle.com. Now, James Tanner over at the Genealogy Star blog, I think that the whole quick reference guide kind of took him by surprise. It kind of took him off guard. And it was interesting to hear his perspective on it, because I think it's the case for a lot of people. He said, I've been using Evernote extensively for quite some time, but was faced with the dilemma when the program began to evolve rapidly. I simply lost touch with all the features being added. I did not understand why I ran out of storage space or was shut down when I didn't purchase some upgrade. So I transferred what I was doing on Evernote and used alternative products. And maybe some of you found Evernote confusing at first, or just not sure how to, kind of make the most of it. Well, James says, solely because of this handy guide, I now understood the product. I already had the program on all my devices, so transitioning back is as simple as clicking. What I needed clarified was how the program functioned vis-a-vis the difference between the free version and the paid version. With that out of the way, I am back in the Evernote use realm. Now, I probably could have figured out all this stuff from using the Evernote website, but this made it much easier for me to get going and actually do something. So I promise that you will feel the same way as James did. And it's really nice to hear that he's back on board with using Evernote, because it really is such a wonderful, free, powerful program and perfect for doing research. And of course, that's what we're all doing with our genealogy research. So thank you again to all the bloggers. I really appreciate you guys for taking the time out to give the guides a test run and share them with your audiences. Evernote for Genealogists is available both for Windows and for Mac. And that, again, came from all of you. I had many emails when the Windows version came out saying, what about the Mac? So we heard you loud and clear. We took care of that. It's in the store. So thank you so much to all of you. And for all of you Genealogy Gems premium members out there, if you're on the newsletter list, you probably saw this, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this. Now, when you become a premium member, it's like 1 year, it's $29.95. You get the whole year. You get all the videos, oh my gosh, there's over 100 podcast episodes. And right now, at this current time, we're offering a free ebook that you get as well when you sign up. So it's a pretty good deal for $29.95. Well, we just, I did a webinar for Family Tree Magazine last month, and it was called Making Evernote Effortless. That video alone of that webinar retails for $39.95 in the Shop Family Tree store. But premium members get it for free. It is part now of Genealogy Gems premium content. So in our video section, when you sign into your premium membership, there's well over a dozen videos. Many of them are hour-long full-length classes, and this is one of them. Not only do you get to watch the video, which I had a blast doing this because it really gets into the advanced features. And don't think of that as being harder features. They're really not any harder. They're just a little more advanced. They're the stuff that you don't hear about every day, but they do some awesome, cool things to make your life just that much easier in using Evernote and going a little bit more paperless. So hence the title, Making Evernote Effortless. So in addition to watching the video, which you can do over at the premium membership, you get a download of all the slides. So this is for your personal use. It's like a little ebook. So I thought rather than typing up all of these in text form, you literally can download the slides, have them on your tablet, have them on your computer, and jump to the page to help remind you the step-by-step instructions for each of the items that we talk about in that webinar. It is packed full. I promise. You'll be amazed at how much there is more to do, and it's easy. You just got to know how to set it up and run with it. So if you love Evernote, that is over and part of Genealogy Gems premium membership now, part of your entire 1-year subscription. And if you'd like to become a member, it's easy to do. Just head to genealogygems.com, click premium in the menu, and you will get a page that takes you to the sign up. So easy to do. And I also did want to mention that our longtime podcast sponsor, Roots Magic, just published a new video I think that you might be very interested in. It's called Importing an Ancestry Family Tree into Roots Magic. Well, have you been wondering how to do this? Now they have a short video that shows you how to do it. Bruce Busby, the CEO and head designer over at Roots Magic, walks you through how to take that ancestry family tree and get it into Roots Magic. Now, currently, this is limited to trees that you own or manage, so keep that in mind, because right now Ancestry doesn't appear to allow downloading a tree belonging to somebody else. But you can bring that into Roots Magic, and you'll find the video at the Roots Magic YouTube channel. It's free. I'll have a link for you in the show notes to get you there, or you could just go to youtube.com and do a quick search on Roots Magic. You could also add the term Ancestry Family Tree. That would get you very quickly to the specific video, or I will have that link for you in the show notes. Well, if that's not enough to keep you busy, I know you guys have been keeping yourselves very busy because I hear from you all the time, and that's what we're going to do next. Talk about some of the gems that you're uncovering and also asking about, and we'll do that in the mailbox. I've got some great news for all you genealogists out there. Roots Magic 6 is now available, and it offers some of the most customer-requested features, like online publishing, the ability to search every record, not just people, an editable timeline view, which is really incredible, and new web tags, which lets you link people, sources, places, and research log items to web pages, plus dozens of other great enhancements, and of course, all the built-in features that you've come to enjoy. There is a little something here for everyone. Now, if you're already a devoted Roots Magic user like I am, or if you're looking to take the next step in your family history research and finally start recording your family tree in your own genealogy database, or if you've just been wanting to make a switch to a much more user-friendly program, there's no better time to get your copy of Roots Magic 6. Do it now. Go to rootsmagic.com and download your risk-free trial of Roots Magic 6. You'll see why professionals and beginners alike choose Roots Magic at rootsmagic.com.
From my old hometown, one with some jokes from my old pal Jim Brown. Bring me a letter from that girl of mine, saying that she's longing for me all the time. Bring me a letter from my proud old dad, who knows that we are winning, and I bet he's glad, but more than any other, a line from my old mother. Bring me a letter from my hometown.
Okay, here we are in the mailbox. Got lots of stuff from all of you. No particular order. Let's just jump right into it. I have an email here from Jane from Edmonton, Alberta. Let's see what this says here. Need your advice. Okay. She says, as I'm sure do thousands of others. Well, okay, let's see if your question will help thousands of others listening. First of all, let me take time to let you know how much I enjoy my subscriptions to your Genealogy Gems and your podcasts. I purchased subscriptions at the Alberta Genealogy Conference in Edmonton last year, and I've been thoroughly enjoying them. So she's talking about premium membership. Wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm still very much a genealogy novice. I have dabbled on Ancestry for a number of years, but have never really had time to devote properly. Last year, I decided to try to get a little more serious and join the local Genealogy Society. And having retired in December, I finally feel like I should be back on this in earnest. And I'm wondering if you could give me some much needed advice. I love Ancestry.com. I've also dabbled in Scotland's People, the free BMD index out of England, and of course Family Search with the LDS. I am finding, however, that I end up wandering around in circles and mazes as one thing leads to another, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm now wondering if I would be best to take it one person at a time to find out as much as I can about that person at that point in time before going on to another. I seem to be jumping back and forth between my dad's family, my mom's family, their families, etc., until there are times that I find myself at a certain point only to wonder, where was I going with this? Jane, you're not alone, I promise. She says, I've started trying to make notes about facts as I spot them, but setting them aside to continue on the current charted course, but find that I end up hopelessly out of order and just as lost. Any advice as how to attack this would be appreciated more than you can imagine. I'm afraid that, sadly, I am one of those individuals who is now wishing I had asked more questions when I was younger, as I am now the older generation. And so I'm relying on my own memories of stories told by my parents and my grandparents back when I was young enough that I'm not sure I paid attention. I do have 4 siblings, but when I speak to them, I often wonder if we all grew up in the same family, because as their remembered timelines differ greatly on some events than my own. Help. You know, that's funny that you mentioned that, because don't they often say in like criminal cases that a witness to the event is one of the most unreliable parts of the evidence? It's funny how people remember things or don't remember things or have their own spin on it. And so all of us have memories that are very, colored by our own thinking and our own perception of what's going on. So not a big surprise that you got different stories from different folks in the family, but I want to reassure you, you are not alone in this genealogical dilemma. It's really easy to let the record start to take over and lead you around. One way I have found to combat this is to set a genealogical goal. You'd be surprised how rarely, oftentimes, people do this. Define what it is that you're trying to find out. What do you want to know? It might be something very specific about a particular ancestor, or it might be just to fill in the blanks on one particular family. Early on in my research, I focused on one grandparent and worked backwards from there. And I would really strive to fill in all the blanks on that person and then their parents. And then before I went on to the next generation, I would fill in their siblings, kind of get the cluster around that person. I wouldn't leave that family until I felt that I had filled in as much of the family group sheet as possible. And in fact, we've kind of sort of lost track of family group sheets, I think, in genealogy in this technological age. But it's still really an excellent tool for keeping you on track and focusing you in on the blanks that need to be filled out. So if you haven't just printed out a good old-fashioned family group sheet, it might be worth doing. I think it would help you stay focused. An additional strategy is to have a process for dealing with that information that's coming in that is a bit off track. You mentioned that you kind of started to try to make some notes about that, but that can just end up in piles of notes. We all know that. And often we feel like that we have to pursue that thing we have spotted or we're going to lose it. That's why I really like Evernote. And I know it sounds like I'm harping on it all the time, but it's such a reliable way to capture what you're finding, keep it organized. You can have confidence you're going to be able to retrieve it later, so you can kind of let it go. Don't get all sidetracked on that one item. But when you store that item that you found, you can store it in kind of a logical way that it will fit back into the research process when you're ready to go there. So Evernote's going to allow you to capture data that, you're not really quite ready to deal with right now, but that you're definitely going to want to pursue later. What I do, I create an Evernote notebook for that family surname. So I might have a notebook for the Burkett family. And I'll have a notebook called Future Research. Just drag and drop the Future Research notebook onto the family surname notebook. It creates what's called a stack. Okay, so you can put notebooks into a notebook, but you can't do that multiple times. You can't do that in multiple layers. You can have lots of different notebooks in the surname notebook. That's okay. But you can't have, triple and quadruple layers of notebooks. That doesn't work. So I create the stack. I've got the surname. I put the Future Research notebook into that surname. And now you can create notes and drop them into Future Research and also tag them with particular little keywords like this is newspaper or it relates to death records, whatever it is. It's going to be easy to find. You're going to be able to grab it from the notebook. It's already been tagged while you're right there thinking about it as to what it was relating to. So you're really going to be able to capture them, file them away, and then stay focused on the task at hand. And the question that you had determined that it is you want to answer. If you want to learn more about how to use Evernote for genealogy, of course, we have the quick reference guide. We've got the videos and premium membership. And we, of course, talk about it here on the free show all the time. So the best thing I can recommend is just start using it. And if nothing else, just use it for this purpose. And then you might find yourself expanding it into other areas of your research. Let's see here. Mary Jane. Okay, Mary Jane's in Kentucky. And she writes, "Thank you, Lisa. I received your ebook just fine, and now I have it installed on my desktop." She's talking about we have been giving away a free ebook. It's a compilation of some of my favorite articles that I have written for Family Tree Magazine. It's a fairly large book. It's got 85 different tips in it. And you get that ebook when you sign up. So she got that when she became a member. She says, "I've been watching a lot of your videos. I have watched the ones where you had interviews at Roots Tech. Every day I watched on my computer the selected Roots Tech programs as they were presented." Oh, during the conference, probably. And last week at our Kentucky Genealogical Society and Kentucky Historical Society, we had an all-day Saturday viewing of 10 of the programs given out there at Roots Tech. It was a special program that the Kentucky Historical Society and the Genealogical Society were chosen to participate in viewing. It was called a Family History Fair, and your program was one of them. How to use YouTube Family History, setting up your own YouTube channel. Yes, that's right. They did record that, and that many people are getting opportunities to see that and a lot of other wonderful videos from other instructors that came out of Roots Tech at these family history fairs. That's awesome that you guys were selected for that. Mary Jane says, and all those syllabuses were available for us to print in advance. We had 135 people who attended ours. We were very privileged, and it was much appreciated by a large crowd of people. I don't know if I should read this. She says, "You're such a pretty gal. Thank you. I had a new coat on that day I was very proud of." She said, "With a bubbly personality. Kiss those babies for me. Yes. My Joey, my Davy." She says, "I've just become a great grandmother. I really enjoy your genealogy gems. Have received your newsletters for several years, but I don't use anything but the computer. It's something about the older generation not being able to learn all those other gadgets." I think she's talking about all the mobile computing. Yeah, boy, you thought it was tough when they brought the computers on, right? We had to all learn those. Now there's 16 other different devices you're supposed to be using. I know it can seem overwhelming. Think of them as little versions of the computer. And hopefully some of the stuff we're doing here at the show will make that a little easier if you decide to take on a tablet or a smartphone later. But my goodness, you don't need it. You can certainly get a lot done just with that good old computer on your desk. So thank you so much. And how cool that out there in Kentucky, they had a chance to participate in all those great Roots Tech videos as well. I'm still getting through some of those. There were some really good ones on there and some great presenters. Oh, and then, so then this email showed up in my inbox a couple of weeks ago. Now, you would open this, wouldn't you, if the email said, the subject line says, "This is all your fault." Now, knowing how many of you are out there I'm thinking, oh, how many gazillions of mistakes could I have made? Of course, it's my fault. I open this up. This is Steve, who's written me from Cedar Falls, Iowa. So his email of "this is all your fault" says, "Yes, this is all your fault." That sounds ominous, but this is a good thing. So my heart stopped racing after I read that part. Okay, so Steve says, "I say your fault because you were the one who encouraged me on your blog to start blogging about family history. I started 2 blogs, one for the paternal side and one for the maternal side. The paternal blog is shellseekers.blogspot.com, and it's Shell, if you have this last name in your tree, SCHELL, shellseekers.blogspot.com. The maternal blog he started is, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Steve, Happkott, HAPPEKOTTE.blogspot.com. He says, my intent was to create a place where family could see the family history that I found. But something else happened in addition to this intent. A guy in New York came across my maternal blog and emailed me that he had something I might be interested in. It was about my 3rd great-grandfather who was born in Germany. Before he came to America, he was a part of a German colony in Guatemala. Boy, talk about a world traveler. He says, I knew that, but I had no proof of when and where he married or even where in Germany he was from. This gentleman from New York is originally from Guatemala and is connected to my 3rd great-grandmother, who was also part of this colony. He sent me a copy of an original church record from Guatemala giving the date that they were married in Guatemala and, get this, folks, the name of the town in Germany that he was from and his date of birth. And then Steve says, it gets better. Can you imagine it getting better than that? Now, those of you with German ancestors, and certainly other countries as well, we all understand how important, how critical it is to get the village of origin. How amazing that some guy in New York who'd been in Guatemala, oh my gosh, found his blog. I mean, I'm telling you folks, a blog is cousin bait. Okay, I digress. Steve says it gets better. The German town was named Rellinghausen. When I put Rellinghausen in Google Earth, yay, good job, Steve, going to Google Earth, it kept taking me to Recklinghausen. Now, this Recklinghausen is just north of Essen, which is the place that I thought that the family was from. So it seemed reasonable to assume that this was the place and it had been misspelled in the Guatemala document. We don't want to assume, right? So he says, I ordered LDS microfilms from Recklinghausen and found not even one instance of the name from 1816 to the 1840s. So I ruled out Recklinghausen. Okay, good. Next, I entered Rellinghausen into Wikipedia, and I found that Rellinghausen had been a separate town before 1910. In 1910, it was annexed by Essen. That's why it's not showing up in Google Earth. The next step was to contact the diocese in Essen about possible records for this ancestor. With the help of Google Translate, I wrote to the diocese office, found with a Google search, and gave the name and date of birth for this 3rd great-grandfather. I received an email back from a church secretary who said she was sending it on to someone who might help. About 2 weeks later, I received an email from the parish priest from the church in which was once Rellinghausen. Attached was all of the birth information, including parents. I probably would never have found this otherwise. So yes, this is all your fault, and I'm very happy to blame you. Thank you so much for the encouragement. Wow, I am really proud to be guilty. Thank you. That is so cool. I will happily take the blame for all of that. I'm just blown away because, see, I keep talking about this and I hear these stories and I think, I wonder if people really believe me that I say, when you put it out there, you're certainly gaining the benefit of sharing with your relatives. You're gaining the benefit of writing the narrative, which helps you to process what you're learning about your family history. But at the same time, when it's on a blog, you're putting it out there so some guy from Guatemala who lives in New York can track you down. I mean, it's awesome. And to think that that led him back to full circle, talking to people in Germany, having the right information to get that information sent back. You're the poster child now for the purpose of blogging, Steve. That's really wonderful. And by the way, of course, I can't help myself. When you guys email me, I'm always like, oh, what's that place? And, I'm checking into things. So I wanted to encourage you, be sure to search Google Books specifically for Rellinghaus and that last name, which is, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Hapcott. Okay. So you put your surname in there and you put that correct spelling of Rellinghausen in Google Books. And I have found a few interesting things in there I think you're going to want to take a look at. So check that out in Google Books. And also, you talked about using Google Translate. And as much as I totally think that's the right way to go, I wanted to encourage everybody to remember, particularly when you're using surnames and you're putting a document through Google Translate or a website and it has the surname, it's going to try to translate the surname too. Okay? So oftentimes, let's say in the case of a German surname, that surname is based on another word, mountain or house or whatever it is. And so you'll be going through the document. It's like, what happened to the surname? Well, it got translated. So just be aware of that. Be aware of where it appears, where the name appears in the document so that you can tell the difference. Wow, you've taken all of these different Google tools we talk about in the Genealogist Google Toolbox book and you've put them into practice. Everything from, a blog at like blogger.com to doing your Google searches, to using Google Translate, to going into Google Earth. Yay, that is awesome. So thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to write and share. It's funny. Okay, I'll tell you guys something. When my husband sees some of these emails come in, he'll be like, I wouldn't in a million years think about writing some radio host. I would say, what do you mean? My listeners are wonderful. They're always writing and letting me know what they're doing and how they're putting what they're learning into practice. And it's just fabulous. It's so inspiring for all of us. And he's like, well, they must be an amazing group of people because I think your average person just wouldn't bother. But see, I want to let you know that every time one of you writes and shares this, you really aren't just sharing it with me. When I see the gems kind of sparkling out of your emails, I can't wait to bring them to the show because I know that what Steve discovered, somebody else who is out there listening, it might be you, is going to hear that and say, that's what I could do. Or just feel encouraged that something's possible, or hear a strategy that you'd kind of lost track of or had never heard before. So Steve, thank you for helping the rest of the audience in inspiring them and sharing your tips and tricks. Very cool. Okay, and I have a quick little note here from Carol. Carol says, I'm new into genealogy. I've worked on my maternal grandfather's side of the tree and had some success. Yay. Now I'm trying to work on my maternal grandmother's side, and it is more difficult. I seem to be generating a lot more paper and search theories this time. Is there anything out there that is a digital basic checklist? Something that you can check off, like census, birth record, death record, etc. Love all your Evernote tips. And that was from Carol. Well, you bet, Carol. There are free records checklists and forms. Two of my favorite sources for this. One is Family Tree Magazine. I'll give you the URL address, but I'll also have it in the show notes for you. You go to familytreemagazine.com/free forms, and they've got forms there that you can use. Also, Ancestry.com has free forms on their website, but they're buried a little bit. They're not as simple to find on the first pass at Ancestry.com. So the direct link is Ancestry.com/trees/charts/ I know it's getting long, ANCchart.ASPX ? Yes, that'll be in the show notes. Those two are great resources for those checklists and forms, and I love them because no matter how good you think you are, you're probably going to forget something, right? And so you're working on death records. There are so many different types of records related to the death of an individual. It's just really good practice to have the checklist in front of you, run through it, check them off, and make sure you haven't overlooked something. You don't want to miss any goodies out there, okay? Thank you so much for writing. And Chris wrote in recently to say, the last few months, I've been packing up our house in Santa Clara, California for a major life change. This requires dividing up our worldly possessions into two parts, one for France and one for our U.S. home, which will be in Florida. I spent whole days listening to your podcasts via the app, which I love on my iPhone 4S, and made it back to 2011. Wow, that's a lot of listening. Chris says, your podcasts are wonderful, and as the family genealogist for mine and my husband's family, listening to you gave me renewed energy during the long, tedious days of packing. It occurred to me that after all of this effort, I will have much more time to work on my family histories and pursue the huge file I have titled Needs Further Research. I love that. We all have one of those files. She says, my favorite podcast moments thus far. Okay, so here's Chris's rundown on her favorites. Listening to your moving challenges as you relocated to Texas. Misery loves company. The guest who stated that it is not advised to shred original documents after digitizing them. Yes. The Flip Pal interview. The daunting task of catching up on technology and the learning curve that comes with that. And your suggestions for all of us to make the family names and dates more interesting in order to get other family members excited about our family history. Thank you for all you do for genealogists. I met you once at our local library where you gave your Google class, and I hope we cross paths again. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. Get well soon. Thank you. I am doing much better. I put my back out. I know many of you heard, and then I got really sick. What a basket case. I'm doing much better. I'm totally enjoying the new house. And good luck in your big move. Gosh, you're straddling across the ocean. That's way more complicated than what I'm doing. Good luck, Chris. And how wonderful. I'm really happy that we got to spend time together while you did your packing. And Kirsty wrote in, says, I have some very happy news. I got engaged last week, a very happy time for us. I remember you had talked about a family reunion sometime in the past, and I wondered if you had any tips of getting family history information out of my family while they are all at the wedding. I hope this finds you well. Very timely question, Kirsty, because I think I've mentioned before, my youngest daughter is getting married. Do you remember when I first started the podcast and I was talking about my oldest daughter, Vienna, getting married? We were planning that wedding at that time. Well, it's 2014, and I am busily planning my youngest daughter, Hannah's wedding. Get this, she lives in Missouri, and we're in Texas, and we're planning the wedding in Florida. I'm kind of doing the cross-country thing with that, but it's next month. I can't believe it's so soon. I have been giving this same question a lot of thought, Kirsty, about how could we maybe gather some information from the family while they're all there, that kind of thing. Now, in our case, it is a destination wedding, so there will be a much smaller group than probably you're working with. But a wedding is not only a wonderful time to collect information, but it's also a wonderful time to put the stories out there. To share some of the family history that you've already found in the context of another piece of family history getting made, which is somebody getting married. So having, a wonderful display and that type of thing. To answer your specific question, I would suggest searching family reunion websites for ideas that you could convert to a wedding reception. A lot of those ideas, I'm sure, would be applicable. You could do a search on Google. And, the place I would go, and that I have been going, is Pinterest.com. Pinterest.com. I know lots of you out there have been using Pinterest. It's a wonderful way to search for ideas, to collect ideas, and then to share ideas with other people to say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I've been doing that with my daughter because we live states apart. So she'll pin things, I'll pin things, and we'll say, okay, what do you think? What are we going to do? And it's been wonderful for wedding planning. If you have your guests seated at tables, there's a great opportunity to provide an icebreaker that can double as a family history gathering opportunity. You could have a form at each place for them to fill out, which Sometimes people, if it's a large wedding, they appreciate having something to do while they're sitting there waiting for people to get pictures taken, people to go through the reception line. They're at the table. There might be people there they don't know. Having the little questionnaire, asking each other questions, recording your own memories. It's a wonderful little icebreaker. And then when the photographer or the videographer comes to the table, he could even record them answering some of the questions. So you could have on there, what's your earliest childhood memory of the bride, or what's your personal earliest childhood memory, that kind of thing. Who's the earliest ancestor that you have a photograph of? That would be a good one to get everybody to answer, wouldn't it? So you've got lots of different questions, and then have your videographer do some filming of people answering them. And I think that'd be really a wonderful keepsake. If they won't be at tables, you could have a family history table next to another table, of course. They're likely to visit, like the guest book table. And you could have your activity there. You could let them know that this is their gift to you. I think that's a wonderful way to kind of inspire people to go ahead and share. You could even have some sort of treat or a little sticker that they wear that says, I shared the family history. Have you? In the U.S., here, when you vote, you get a little sticker for your lapel and it says, I voted. You could have some made up. They could say, I shared the family history. Have you? And they get that when they do their little contribution at the table. I think that would be wonderful, whether it's again, sharing memories on paper, or answering one simple question, or whatever it is that you'd like them to participate in. You could also, we've talked about this a long time ago, create some of those sweet memory candy bars. That's way back from our first season here at Genealogy Gems. And you could create customized candy bars where you get the candy bar, you take the old wrapper off, and you put just that outer wrapper, the paper wrapper, and you create unique wrappers and attach those to the candy bars and have those as a treat for receiving when they contribute an idea or whatever, your activity is. You can read more about that. I've got actually all the really detailed instructions on how to create those in my book, Genealogy Gems, Ultimate Research Strategies. So I hope that helps, and again, go to Pinterest and you can use the search box. You don't have to just use your free account and things that you find on the web. You can sign into Pinterest, which is free. And then in the app, you go to the search box and type in wedding family history, that type of thing. And you'll find all kinds of wonderful examples. I saw one where they had taken an old barrel. It was an outdoor wedding, and they turned the barrel upside down, and then they had a collection of old photos. And then behind it, they had almost like poles or something, and there was some flowers growing up on them. And they had hanging down some wires that they had taken old clothespins and attached notes with memories and pictures and all kinds of things. And it was just wonderful for an old country wedding, that kind of style. So whatever your style is, I'm sure that there's something that you could do to enhance the wedding. So congratulations, Kirsty, and have a wonderful Getting Hitched day, okay? All right, well, that is it for the mailbox. And I have to say, I knew I had a lot of emails here from all of you and all the gems that you guys share. It's wonderful. And it's been really fun, actually, taking just a whole episode to visit like this. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And as always, you can get in touch with me at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. Make sure that you're getting the newsletter. That was one of the things I want to mention to you before we wrap up today. You might have noticed they're coming a little closer together. Now, I have really struggled with how much to email. I don't want to bombard you or wear you out, okay? But I know that people have said they've enjoyed receiving the newsletter. We were kind of doing them once a month, sometimes twice a month. And I would let that be dictated by when episodes got published. And we've really been increasing the amount of great articles we're trying to bring to you on the website and the videos we're producing. So there's been a lot of content. And the last couple of newsletters, I looked at them and I thought, oh my gosh, this is like taking a fire hose and hitting these people. I mean, there was a lot of content in that newsletter. I hate to leave stuff out, but it's kind of hard to digest it in one sitting, one newsletter. So here's what we're going to try and do. My goal is that every Thursday we'll put out a newsletter, and that will have the week's articles, videos, news, whatever's going on. Keep it a little simpler, a little easier to digest in a shorter sitting, but we get to connect once a week. So you'll know what's going on here, and you'll see when the new episodes get published, and you'll have easy links to get to them to start enjoying the content right away. So I hope that works for you. I know everybody's got a little different preference on this, but I think it will be fun, and it would be really good for me to have a schedule where I have to set goals for myself too, not just my research, but getting the newsletter out too. And having made the decision was half the battle. So that's what we'll do. Every Thursday, that's the goal. We're going to put out our newsletter on Thursdays. It'll be once a week. It'll be a manageable amount, and we will stay in touch. All right? So you stay in touch too. Thank you so much for listening, friend. I'll talk to you soon.